But you know, you're someone who's kind of done that. You're an artist who's a great example of someone who's interacted with the audience in a way that, you know, the record companies just couldn't do beforehand. And you've never been a big fan of the bloated record industry in the past. So I would have thought this new structure, I know you just said it's exhausting, but it must also be liberating and fill you with a sense of excitement of how you can actually deal with your fans and relate with them on a one-on-one basis.
No, it absolutely does in a lot of ways. You know, it's great to not have somebody saying no to you all the time that you clearly realize doesn't understand what the situation is, and that person or that entity is the record label. It's great not having that, but it also then puts a lot of burden and responsibility upon you and your manager, or whoever your internal little team is to end up picking up the slack of what a record label, the good things that a record label would do. You know, I spend a lot more time thinking about marketing and boring things like demographics and how do you reach people than I'd, in a perfect world, like to do. You know, I'd like to sit in my room and make music and then have someone else worry about how it gets into people's heads and hands. But there isn't anybody that can do that right now. You know, the machine is broken, and it requires a lot of time and thought, really, you know, to kind of figure out how to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just part of what I think the role of a musician is today. It's another... Years ago, it was wondering how you're going to get a demo tape into the hands of an A&R guy to get a record deal. You know, today the goal is much different. I think your goal would be not to get into the hands of a record label, but get it into the iPods of people across the world, and then convince them that you have merit and convince them that you're the greatest thing that there is.
Well, and that there's something to sort of attach yourself to, that there's something to believe in and something to, you know, follow.
Exactly.
Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails is with us. Just quickly as well, the Jane's Addiction stuff that's going to happen this year. So obviously there's some more live performances after this tour of Australia from 9 Inch Nails. You've got, you know, Bonnaroo, a big festival which happens in North America in a few months' time or the middle of this year. But you're also going to be teaming up with Jane's Addiction, but I couldn't find any details of when that's happening and how big it's going to be.
Well, that kind of came out of nowhere, and it aligned itself with what my mentality is of this last wave of shows, which was to have fun and to make it something that's for our fans and fun and true for us to play, and feels like the right thing to do, that puts whorishness on a back burner and doing something great that you feel good about up front. Cross paths with Jane's Addiction, the newly reunited Jane's Addiction, and those guys were my favorite band back in the day, you know, and gave me the chance to open for them years ago, the very first Lollapalooza. And I remember seeing them before our first record came out, and this was been in 1989, I believe. And they played in Cleveland where I was living, and it was... You know, I'd heard the record and wasn't quite sure if it was good or not. And I saw them, and it was one of those shows that I think back to that was so good and made such an impact that I felt defeated. You know, at the end of the night, I just felt like, okay, that's what we have to try to beat now. You know, it was a good, healthy kind of ass-kicking, you know, and I've always remembered that. And then when we played the first Lollapalooza with them, it was great, and then they broke up. Anyway...
yeah, that was pretty much the end, wasn't it? After that tour, they disintegrated, didn't they?
That was the end of Jane's Addiction in my mind, you know, and they got a different version with not all the real guys back to do a record in, I think, 97. But finally, Eric Avery, the bass player, is back since the Enemy Awards thing that got them in the same room together, and they decided there's some magic there, and... We ended up all discussing things and talked about working on some new music, and went in the studio and recorded a few tracks, some new stuff and some old stuff that I'm not sure where that's going to wind up.
Sorry, is this you producing them?
Yeah, that was me kind of wrangling them into being in the same room together, for one, and trying to... You know, I walked into a minefield, to be honest with you, because I knew them all independently, but I'd never really spent... recently any time with them, and I could understand why they broke up in the first time. You know, just weird interpersonal things that need worked out, like any gang of people, and these guys hadn't been really around each other much since 91. So the challenge that I was faced with was trying to get them to communicate and feel good about what they're doing and record something that had merit. And we succeeded in some ways, we failed in other ways, but it was a process that got everybody talking, and that led to us talking about maybe touring together, and it seemed to make sense, and so we're going to go out, I believe, starting in May. The announcement's going to come soon as to when that is, but it's in the U.S., it's in amphitheaters, and it should be fun.
How long will it last for? Starts May, ends when?
It's somewhere under 2 months long.
Right,
We're going to wind up in Europe for some festivals and some action over the summer. Winding up, I think, in Pacific Rim area.
Yeah, right.
I think we're finished up in August, and then...
It's going to be amazing because I caught them, I caught that original lineup years and years and years ago, and you're right, the chemistry between those four players, I mean, extraordinary musicians in their own right, but just when they came together, there was just something, bigger than the sum of the parts.
Totally agree. And that's the thing. In Nine Inch Nails, I always wished I had. I wished Nine Inch Nails was a band when I started out. I just couldn't find anybody in Cleveland that I felt comfortable writing with, or that I felt our chemistry complemented each other. And then to sit in these guys' rehearsal room a couple weeks ago and hear them just integrating with each other is amazing.
It must have been felt very bizarre for you, acting as the producer when, as you said, back in '89 you were watching them play live and they were just flooring you.
It felt, that's a role that I think I can do a good job in, but it requires an assertiveness that I sometimes have trouble with, especially when I'm intimidated by people. And, I really had to get my mind around the fact, hey, I'm in the room with these guys, and I've got to kind of take control of things here, And it was fun. It was an interesting process. There was good and bad, but it really was action-packed few weeks. So,
well, it'll be fascinating to see how the next 6 months unfolds, because hopefully the glue will stick together between the four guys, and there's been a lot of history there, but hopefully it'll all, stay together, and the music will be as vital as it was back in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, the music sounds great. It really is, I think, a matter of them just getting out and realizing, hopefully resonating with people and seeing that feedback, because collectively it really is an amazing thing.
Oh, they'll go crazy. The crowds will just go nuts, absolutely. You'd imagine so, anyway.
Yeah.
Fantastic to talk to you. Could talk to you for hours, but you got a gig to perform tonight. Good luck. I hope it goes well.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Yeah, listen, it's great to have you back in the country as well. So all the best. We look forward to future adventures, whether they be music or not, from you. And thanks for dropping by. Just one quick more question before I play Discipline. I've always wondered, the vocal take at the beginning of this track, I've got to ask you this. It's one of those train spotter questions that bugs me. Was that a mistake? When you come in too early, was that literally just a first take and you thought, oh, that's pretty good, I'll keep it?
And it came about that way. We were doing a vocal once, and I came in wrong, I caught myself, and then I left it on because I was too lazy to go back and fix it, and I listened to it a few days like that, and then when I did take it out, it felt like something was wrong, and I thought, well, it's one of those happy accidents.
It is. It just works. Every time you hear the track, it's just like it's a great hook into the track. But anyway, I just wanted to find that out. Trent, great to speak to you. Have a good stay in Australia.
Thanks, man. Take care.
See ya.